From winning everything in karts to being an unstoppable force in Formula One, his rise to the top has looked effortless. But just how good is Max Verstappen? Max looks like he could be in the perfect position to win his third Formula One world title this year, his third in a row. When you see him on the grid, he's most likely going to be in the fight for victory. He was born 30th September 1997 to Sophie Kumpen and F1 driver Jos Verstappen. Before you know it, he was racing. He had the winning mentality from karting, winning 23 karting championships including the World and European Championships. So I guess you could say he was pretty good. He's raced against some of the drivers called Charles Leclerc, Antoine Hubert and Antonio Giovinazzi to name a few. He then jumped to single-seaters in 2014 competing in Euro F3, but also venturing in the Zandvoort Masters, which obviously he won. During the Euro F3 season, a certain Dr. Helmut Marko came knocking. Max had a choice to make. He either chose Mercedes or Red Bull. In the end, Max chose Red Bull, and it made certain headlines. In that Euro F3 season, he bagged the most wins in the season with 10 wins. He also picked up 16 podiums and 7 poles, but he missed out on the title to a certain Esteban Ocon. These two would meet paths again in the future. He didn't even get second. That was with Tom Blomqvist. Suzuka, 3rd of October 2014. Aged 17 and 3 days, Max replaced Jean-Eric Vergne for practice, becoming the youngest ever driver to drive a Formula One car. The reason he was doing this was on August the 18th that year, Toro Rosso announced that Verstappen would be their driver for the 2015 season, becoming the youngest driver ever. The 2015 season was a stellar introduction into F1 for the youngster, best starting position of P6 at Malaysia and Spain, and a best finish of P4 at Hungary and USA. He started 2016 in the place he was the year before, but it wouldn't continue like that. A lack of good results from the Russian driver Daniel Kvyat meant that Red Bull called Max up to the main team, and there he would stay. His first race with the team would be at Spain, qualifying P4 and one position behind his new teammate Daniel Ricciardo. A mess up between the two dominant Mercedes drivers opened the door for the Red Bulls and Ferraris to fight it out for an unlikely win. It looked as if Daniel would take home the win, but he was on a different strategy to Max. On the final lap, it was Max in the lead, with the experienced Kimi Raikkonen putting him under pressure. But Max didn't crack, crossing the line to become the youngest F1 winner ever at the age of 18 years and 227 days. And this was the beginning. Words from three-time champ Niki Lauda says, "What we are seeing is talent of the century." 2017 to 2020, there was nothing Max could do. Mercedes was dominant, and when they would have to battle, it would be with Ferrari, not Red Bull. He still picked up 9 wins in that time, including 42 podiums and 3 pole positions, but 2021 would be the year he got to show what he could do. Red Bull finally had the car to challenge Mercedes and tried to end their dominance. Picking up pole in the opening round, it proved they was ready. 9 wins and 9 poles came, but that would not be enough, at least not until Abu Dhabi, the final round of the season. He went in equal on points with Lewis Hamilton. The winner takes it all. It seemed Hamilton had it, but a late safety car caused by Nicholas Latifi changed everything. A one-lap sprint, Verstappen versus Hamilton. Going into turn 5, Verstappen went for it, passing Hamilton, winning the race, winning his first world title. The same followed in 2022, except a new challenger replaced the last. It was Charles Leclerc's time, but his and Ferrari's title fight didn't really last long. An outstanding record-breaking 15 wins gave Max his second title, this time by a country mile. It seems he is the same in 2023, but at this point we don't see a title rival. It's likely he makes it 3, maybe 4, possibly 5. The sky's the limit for a driver who's still only 25. Many say he could become a great. Some people say he's already a great. All we know for sure right now is Max Verstappen is in a league of his own. But this just shows his road to Formula One. We want to know how good he is in the pinnacle of motorsport. Going into his first title fight in 2021, in comparison to his teammate, Max had an average gap of 5/10 in qualifying and race beating Perez. Qualifying was a slam dunk 20-1 win for Max, and then the race he won 19-3. But the 3 times Perez beat Verstappen was when the Dutchman DNF'd. Perez having 2 DNS meanwhile, but Max was ahead anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Compare that to his title rival Lewis Hamilton in a Mercedes, where in the race Verstappen was on average 1.4 seconds faster, but if you deduct the races where there was damage, Verstappen would come up 3.5 seconds faster. But in qualifying, there was nothing, only 22 thousandths separate them in favour of Hamilton. Max took 9 poles compared to Hamilton's 5, Hamilton taking 8 wins to Verstappen's 10. In head-to-head it was 11-10 in favour of the Brit, not including the sprints and grid penalties. In the race, it was 10-9 for Verstappen, as they both did at Monza. In the 2022 season, he was on the back foot against Ferrari, but Red Bull pushed and Max showed his intentions. 15 wins came, breaking a record that seemed unbeatable. His average winning margin in 2022 was 8.697 seconds. He took the largest winning margin of the season, winning by 27.066 seconds in a rain-soaked Japanese Grand Prix. Verstappen also had the biggest pole margin of the season, 0.779 seconds at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix over Leclerc. He took victory in Hungary after starting 10th, then the next race won the Belgian Grand Prix starting 14th, which was the furthest grid position back that someone took a podium that season. His win percentage at the end of the year was 68.18%, becoming the 5th biggest in history. He completed the most racing laps in 2022. After not finishing in 2 of the opening 3 races, he completed 1,271 laps out of a possible 1,294, which was the first time since 2019 that the world champion was the driver who completed the most laps. He was also one of 2 drivers that made Q3 in every race, the other being his rival's teammate Carlos Sainz. His teammate Sergio Perez had one of his best seasons in F1, but still couldn't match Max, losing quali 18-4, the average gap between them being 0.4 of a second in favour of the Dutchman. Max currently leads the qualifying battle over Perez in 2023 after taking pole for the Bahrain Grand Prix, gapping his teammate by 0.138 seconds, then winning by 11.987 seconds in the race over his teammate. A third place Fernando Alonso being 38.637 seconds behind the Red Bull. Comparing these seasons against 2 different drivers shows how capable Max is at fighting for a world title, and shows he could become one of the greats. How many titles will he win? We don't know, but for sure we know if you see him in his mirrors, you won't like the outcome.